Hi, it's Joy, and today I'm going to be watching The Haunting of Hill House, Season 1, Episode 8, Witness Marks. I'm stressed. I have my Baby Yoda, emotional support Baby Yoda here, and I'm stressed. I'm so excited. There are 3 episodes left in this show, and I can't wait to finally get answers, but I'm also just ready to be terrified. Thank you so much, Albert, for sponsoring this show, and a reminder that, as always, if you're watching this on YouTube, the unedited version of this reaction and all of my reactions are my Patreon. I believe they'll be next week for YouTube. When this is up on YouTube, there'll be one more episode left up to go up on Patreon next week, basically. But yes, without further ado, let's go.
I've been trying for 2 years and 4 months.
Ooh, are we gonna find out about what split them up?
The app will test your sperm for count and motility percentage.
Does he not feel comfortable having kids? Who's that? What is that? Is that a ghost?
Likely that based on your test results, we go straight to
or a sibling?
Will insurance help with that?
Oh, is that his mum? Has he seen his mum all the time? Or is that Nell? I'm just...
Sounds fair. Within 3 to 5 days after.
Oh Lord. Is he not gonna want... Does he not want to have kids because he thinks he has a psychotic disorder that he'll pass down?
I mean that suicides can cluster in families, especially twins.
Oh
if
Lord.
They lose a twin,
that is a genuine fear that you would have.
I'll go look for him.
It's a waste of gas. He could be anywhere.
Yeah, I'll go with you. I got this.
We all need to come together and talk about
Call me if he does.
What are you gonna do? Drive in circles?
the ghost problems. Or does everyone think it's psychosis?
we're really not going to tell them what we saw.
You should.
Mom's gonna go to your Aunt Janet's in a few days. Stay a bit. Maybe a week.
How come?
Just holiday.
Well, you know, she's been cooped up in this house all summer.
Why did we wait a few days? Why
Anyway,
didn't she
I know
just
it's not the
go?
most exciting. Really use your help watching your brother and your sisters while she's away.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
Oh. I'm just so scared that any second I'm gonna spot a ghost.
I'm just so scared that any second I'm gonna spot a ghost.
Of course you're safe with me.
Oh God. Oh, is this the ghost lady talking to Abigail or whatever?
The twins.
I do not like people being alone.
Might be in the car for a while, and so I thought to myself, you know what, I'm gonna...
He just wants to be your dad.
Doesn't work that way, Dad.
And it doesn't. I can totally see things
15 years.
from Stephen's point of view with his dad. Just as an audience, we know more than he does.
She used to say she was the kite and I was the line. Like she was a creature of the cloud. Together,
They should have got to raise their beautiful family all this time.
She handed you to me, I had you in one arm and her in the other, and that was it.
They were young and in love, and they should have got to grow old together.
And I hope really you get to experience that sometime. It's a beautiful way to be.
He does love his kids so much.
I love her today just as much as I did in the beginning.
Yeah. This is the sort of thing they should have got to hear all their lives.
Can we talk when I get back?
How? You'll be back at the hotel.
Okay. Okay, sure.
I know she was already mad at him about the money thing, but I do think she should hear him out
I can't handle trick-or-treat.
about Theo.
Love you.
Though also she's going through hell because her sister died.
You guys have fun.
Because I don't know, to me, and I might be misremembering, but I suppose when I edited it, it looked as though Theo was reaching for him. He was moving slightly backwards. I don't know how they ended up in the wine or the little room or whatever, but... Oh no, not in here, please.
Goddamn lights off.
Oh Lord, I'm stressed. Just kids playing knock down Ginger, just go back inside.
I'm never having children.
Talk about it with your dad.
These kids are the best thing in my life.
I mean, not everyone has to want children.
There were bruises on her upper arms because someone
grabbed her pretty hard,
Okay, Steve.
and a contusion on the back of her head from being shoved into a wall.
Jesus Christ.
Ankle
We
was
saw
bruised,
that.
She was limping. She was bruised.
I did my best, but you have no idea.
You threw us in a
what
car. You
I
left her there alone, and
totally
she threw herself
understand.
off the goddamn staircase, and that was your best.
Yeah, all right. Well, she should not have been left alone in the house.
Fuck the house.
Absolutely
It
not
wasn't
that
the house. She was sick.
I so understand why Stephen thinks this. I would think the exact same thing in this
One person that
situation.
was supposed to take care of her didn't do it.
But he doesn't obviously understand
Get her help.
the truth of what was going on is so different. But I get why he feels this way, and I can't imagine what he's been through all this time. And oh goodness me,
William's parents sent him to an institution when he was a kid.
Jesus
They called it
Christ,
private
this
school, but It
house.
wasn't a school though. It was just to put that.
She does look a bit like their mum. This house has such a tortured, traumatic past. He can't see anything at this point because he truly believed he'd never seen a ghost. Holy shit. Please lock the door. Who is he to her? Did she have a one-night stand sometime?
What the fuck do you want?
Oh, I hate this. Oh.
I was just, he pushed me away.
Is that supposed to make this better?
It
It's-
wasn't even him.
Yeah, it's don't...
I didn't see him. It wasn't about him.
It's about you getting out of my guest house and off my fucking property.
Shirley's not in a place right now
I
to
don't
listen,
care what you
but
have to say.
Impossible. Do you know that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Have
you
I offended
should
you?
try to listen to
Throwing
her.
it in my face. I choose to live there, Shirley. With you. For you.
Oh, I can't thank you enough.
Oh.
You ice people out. That it wasn't Kevin's fault, and he didn't do
Don't
anything.
you fucking dare defend my husband.
He didn't do anything!
Just always helping you keep up this idea
Like-
in your head. The perfect Shirley's perfect fucking life.
Oh, Lord.
You do not just get to shove me out of your life. Did you just punch me in the boob?
Yes.
And you get evicted from my fucking house.
Oh, is the dog gonna start growling? Oh, I hate this so much. Oh, I hate this. Holy shit, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay.
At a gas station. 202, just east of Amherst.
Can you text me the address?
Is he going to Hill House?
Amherst. He's heading.
Shirley, listen to me. You're gonna stay put. You hear me?
Tell them what happened.
Tell
Tell them
them.
what just happened.
We all need to get together and sit down and discuss what we all individually
He's
know.
playing a prank.
Drawing crazy ghouls in his treehouse, and hell, I've seen that look in the mirror.
That's why he
Our
doesn't
family
want
has a
kids.
disease that's never been
Which they
treated
could always
because it was
adopt.
easier to listen to your crazy stories
I
about.
think that they'll just have the same imaginary sickness.
They would. We all do. Nell was delusional, depressed. Luke's.
I would so be with Stephen on this. I so want to get frustrated with him, but this is where I would be if I was here.
Something wrong with our goddamn brains.
The house
Yeah, I'm never
is
having
haunting
children.
you.
Vasectomy.
Oh my god, they've been trying for 2
Right out
years.
of college.
And he didn't tell her he'd had a
And it was the right
vasectomy.
call, believe me, because if I ever
No
died,
wonder she kicked him out. It's one thing to just not want kids. It's another thing to be married and trying for 2 years without telling
You
anyone.
really did.
Vasectomies are reversible though.
I couldn't say. I can't. My genes. My genes are rottenly.
I mean,
So
if you're married to someone, you should say that. Because if it means that much to you to not be biological, maybe she'd be open to adoption or fostering, or
I really thought that.
maybe you can understand some of what your dad's not telling people.
Just tell me what a shitty husband I was. Go
You're a
ahead.
broken young man who's been through hell
I'm
and
so
it's
sorry.
carried it all himself.
I'm so sorry, son.
This isn't the future they wanted for their kids. And, like, they wanted to build a bright future for them. This was all for building them a forever home. And to think that, you know, Stephen is one of the kids that you maybe would look at and say, like, well, you know, he came out alright from everything. Maybe because he didn't see anything because he was older, but he was happily married. He's a successful author, you know. I don't have to worry about him. Hill House didn't cause any great ripple effects on his life, other than maybe straining some family relationships due to the books he wrote. But it's literally defined him every second of every day. This belief that he and his family have this terrible, terrible condition that if he were to have children, it would be a curse on that child, and he can't do it, even if he might want kids. And that it affected him in such a way that he didn't feel comfortable telling his wife, and it kind of, every single one of those children is beyond screwed up by what happened. And as a parent, I can't even imagine the idea of looking at your child and knowing that you weren't able to protect them from something that, you know, like, all you want to do as a parent is protect your children, is make sure they have the best world possible. And by trying to do that, they accidentally open their children up to all of this trauma, and it kills me.
Okay.
Oh, all these poor kids.
This is perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I love it.
That is so sweet. Oh Lord.
Mom?
This is an older picture. He
That
been wearing
would
a suit about an hour
so
ago.
frighten him.
Yeah, I think so. And then he filled up some cans.
Did she get possessed? Did she get possessed by the old woman who hated the things it's her own, or by someone that hated the woman, or
5 cans, you say?
he wants to burn the house to the ground? We know he's not going there to kill himself, he's going there to burn the house to the ground. Would that be a bad thing? Would that free the spirits to rampage across the country or something?
And if he tries to burn it, it will defend itself.
You really didn't hear a word I said.
Yeah, I did. Now you're gonna listen to me.
Please,
There's a lot you don't know.
open your mind to the
I
possibilities.
could keep you kids safe if you didn't know.
It was a
20 years
mistake.
holding your door closed, and you are the last person that should ever step foot in that house because of what you wrote and how you wrote it. I
Why?
think you know what you saw.
She was not well.
No, not her. The man repairing the clock.
Holy shit, there wasn't a man repairing the clock.
Ghost.
No one touched that clock. There was no man there. And certainly
Jesus
not one
Christ.
old overalls with a handlebar mustache. That man wasn't there.
Jesus Christ.
Probably just forgot.
You see the marks, but you don't know how to read them.
Oh Lord.
I never built you kids a treehouse.
What? Luke was in there all the time? I used to go fetch him for dinner.
Flipping a house.
Holy shit.
There maybe 8 weeks. There was no treehouse.
Fucking hell.
And I'm very sorry you have to be taking all this in right now, but you have to.
Oh, please,
Understand
please
you
trust
have to
him. Please
because
listen to
your
him.
brother's life depends on it.
And yours does.
That house is the most dangerous place in the world for all of us. And that's why I told your sisters to stay put.
You really think they will?
No.
Do you think he's, you know, going there like Nell went there? Like going to kill himself?
Tell her what you've seen as well, please. At least they're talking. The trauma of tonight.
I don't.
And Nell didn't go there to kill herself either, and I hate that they all believe that of her.
You know.
I mean, there's nothing, I mean, I don't mean that in the sense that, like, you have a range of emotions when someone you love commits suicide, but, like, the idea that they think she was in that dark place and they didn't see it, they didn't do enough, but she wasn't. Her going back to the house was actually a sign of her really trying to heal, and it kills me.
I couldn't see him, if that makes any sense. You know what? Never mind. I'm trying to tell you.
Let her finish, and you can be furious with her, that's fine, but
And that's supposed to be okay?
I'm telling you.
was it
I
that,
don't even know why.
could she not feel anything with her hands, even though,
I touched Nell's body the night before.
What the fuck is
oh
wrong with you?
Lord,
Excuses.
I'm not
or
making
you're-
excuses.
oh Lord.
Are you okay? That was her! That was her! And I felt nothing. Just nothing. And it spread everywhere in me, this nothing, until I
Oh
couldn't
my
feel
God.
anything anymore. He took my hands and he said no, and then I saw him, and then you walked in. God, I'm so glad I did it though. Because it worked.
Oh,
Oh God, it worked. I started feeling things again, and I felt I'm so fucking scared that I was gonna lose the only sister that I had left. And
This is you.
I had to do it because it felt better than nothing. I'm so sorry. Please, just please.
You have to forgive her. Was that Nell's spirit trying to stop them fighting and trying to make them be sisters again? Or was that her just trying to be heard? Because I feel like in this situation, death kind of is just being... They're trapped, haunted, waiting, watching while the rest of their family is torn apart by this house. Luke. Fucking hell, it's just occurred to me that he was dressed like this when Nell saw that vision of him. Luke, I get this, I get why you want to do this, but you should not be here alone. I'm sure he doesn't want to risk anybody else. And he wants to get revenge for what it did to Nell, but you can't do this alone. Nell came alone. Fucking hell. And it's red. It's not gonna let him do this. Did it make him imagine that he did it and he didn't really do it? Or is it fireproof? Or... Holy shit. Run. I'm very glad I watched this at 3 in the afternoon and not at bedtime, because I would never be sleeping ever again. That end bit looks so much like the ghost hands in Phasmo. Okay, this episode was... Sorry, I still I need to cuddle something. This episode was fantastic. I mean, I think it's really funny because in a lot of ways it had the fewest number of scary scenes, or at least there were fewer scenes in which I felt like something might happen, which I think is a lot of the other episodes is the suspense. But the ones it had packed a punch. The thing I'm currently most thankful for is the conversations that were had this episode between Stephen and his dad and between Theo and Shirley, because I feel like the most skeptical people, or the people that were holding out in that non-belief, are slowly but surely coming around to believe it. Shirley, of course, because she's seen it, and you know, they had the knocking on the walls in the house, they've got the knocking on the walls in her house. They saw Nell, and like, was that Nell, like I said, was that Nell screaming just to be seen in pain, like she's been trying this whole time because, you know, I was in the dark and no one could see me, and just don't make me cry again. Or was that her just trying to get seen? Or was that her just desperately wanting her sisters to pull together and to stop fighting with each other and to forgive each other? Or was that Nell saying, no, stop, do not, like they were driving on the road to Hill House, stop, turn around, don't go back. Oh. I definitely feel like that house would have been broken into by amateur ghost hunters and people before, because like, it just would have been. And then the revelation that Stephen has seen at least one ghost. Like, we know he saw his mother that night. Like, his eyes were closed. I don't think he saw her following them, like floating. But he saw her standing in the window. And at this point, I believe she was probably already dead. But he thinks that's before she was dead. And that, like, she was just injured and hurt and traumatized and potentially assaulted by their father. And like I said at the beginning of this, throughout this episode, when you watch a sort of spooky show, whenever there are the non-believers, it's so frustrating and you just want to scream at them, like, obviously it's real, everyone else you know thinks it's real, but in the real world, I do not believe ghosts are real. I think anytime someone has a ghost sighting, it's fake. And, you know, maybe if I experienced it, I'd be convinced, but I also think that, like, mental health is a very real thing and it exists, and I would assume the same thing as Stephen. I would be worried in the same way that Stephen was worried. I would be furious with my father in the same way that Stephen is furious with his father. I truly would assess the world the way he does, and potentially a little bit the way Shirley does, although hopefully not so much. So I really can understand where he's coming from with that, but I think this revelation that clock 100% was never fixed, and the fact that it would have to be done by a specific expert and there's only a handful of them, and that there was no tree house, that, I mean, where the frack were they when they were in that treehouse? Like, no girls allowed, and Theo ripped the last sign down. Like, so many of the kids saw this treehouse. And like, when they came in talking about, oh, I was in the treehouse, did the parents just assume they were playing make-believe with Luke because he was 6? There were so many questions. And like, has this house basically been eating alive its occupants for forever, like since it was built? Or did something terrible happen here and that is what triggered it? Who is the original spirit? Because the one behind him was Poppy Hill, but it seems as though their mother is still being possessed by whatever the force is in the house, or is it just simply the house itself? I hope we get answers, like, to a degree at least. You know, maybe I don't need to necessarily know every single detail, but I don't want it to be the kind of, I mean, maybe it will be, and it wouldn't be the end of the world because the story and the journey has been so good, and the characters and their growth and their relationships have been so rich. But I hope it's not an ending where it's like, we'll never really know what happened, but at least we've stopped it now, you know. I definitely hope it's not an ending where it's like, oh, what a shame, all of the Hills are dead, but at least a nice young new family's moving in. That would be the worst ending, not the Hills, the Cranes. But I hope we get some kind of answer on why the house is evil, what's the original malevolent force behind it. Because if the Hill's son was mentally unwell, then was that because the house was getting to him as well? Or was he genuinely unwell, and so was his wife, and then when they died they became evil spirits because they were not happy with their treatment in life, because they were sent to asylums and things? I just don't know. I hope we get those questions. I hope we get the freaking Dudleys involved, because if they're still around, I believe they've been mentioned, and I'm still furious with them that they let this family with 5 children move in. I mean, I know I go on about that, and I know I say let them, and obviously, like, they weren't the ones selling the place, but I still feel like there are ways you could contact them and you could try and scare them off, and, you know, it might not work, but, and they would lose out, I suppose, on being there to protect them, but they basically didn't protect them. They just were weirdly religious at the kids. Is it going to turn out that Mrs. Dudley's been dead the whole time? Like, one day, is Mr. Dudley going to be like, well, no, my wife died many years ago? I don't trust anything. Like, is that actually his mother, not his wife? Did his wife leave after the baby died or something? I don't know. I'm making up stories now. Especially now that the clock guy was a ghost. Did the house kill the clock repairman, or does the house just capture echoes of its past? Are some of the figures we've seen, like the kid in the wheelchair and the old woman on the bed, are they less actual ghosts and more like echoes and remnants? I'm sure we'll find out more about it. But the house eats people that come into it, and the idea that it's not done, that it's been slowly but surely, it's kept its hooks in them, is so fascinating to me. But especially so, obviously with Nell, she's seen the bent neck lady all of her life, and then she fell in love with someone, and I guess that security, that safety, having that person that was there for her, loved her, and had no link to Hill House was enough protection for her to not see the bent neck lady. And then the house killed him, I believe. And then, I mean, maybe it was he genuinely just had a random aneurysm or something that no one knew about, but the house killed him to make her vulnerable again, and then slowly but surely has driven her here. Luke has always been followed by the creepy man, but the others don't seem to have been followed by the house. I mean, obviously Theo still has always had her ability and things. Have Shirley and Stephen seen ghosts all around and just thought they were normal? Like, you know, you walk past and, you know, I don't know, smile at a baby in a pram, and then the person next to you is like, why is she smiling at the ground? And just, it's just a fleeting moment in the middle of a conversation so no one mentions it. Could that be, like, I don't know. So that was a huge revelation, that there wasn't a tree house. Obviously, we've known Abigail's a ghost, and she's one of the people invited to tea. So was that who the ghost lady was kind of talking to? Like, you don't have to be, you know, you're safe with me. Was that, oh, the knocking and everything on the house, beyond terrifying. And then Nell, that scene in the car, and the idea that Nell's spirit is just following her siblings and trying to speak to them and trying to get through to them, and she's just trapped and she's alone. And I feel like Nell's experience right now is very similar to what Theo was describing, except she can see what's happening to her family. She just can't stop it. She can't help them. The idea that the house is fireproof is very frightening to me. But I wonder whether it is actually, like, supernaturally fireproof, or whether it's, like, because it's able to, like, you know, it altered Nell's perception that she was in the house as it was when they lived there, but all finished up, and she was, you know, dancing with her husband, who didn't die at the house. So unless because he died because of Hill House's spirit is somehow there, but you know, she was seeing all of these things. The house can get into your head. Did the house, was Luke just walking around kind of going like spray, 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 holding nothing, because it altered his perception, or is it truly fireproof? I feel like we're going to have to exercise whatever the fuck is going on here, and then burn it to the ground, or at the very least, and then turn it into a house that can have loving memories, but like, in good conscience, no one could live there. Oh, the moment when she was stood behind him, beyond terrifying, like, no thank you. And like the house catching him off guard with his mother, because even though he went there knowing what he went there for, there is still that tiny part of you that when you see someone that is dead and that you love, your initial thought was, oh my god. And then, maybe with more time, he would have been like, no. But Nell didn't sort of have that reaction, and is that because the house starts seeping into, all the time he was pouring the gasoline, the petrol, the house was seeping into his mind and altering his perceptions of things ready for this. So I'm very stressed. I'm stressed that they're all coming there. I've known that it was going to end up with them all going to Hill House. It just felt like that kind of show where they would need to return to put to bed this awful thing that has haunted every aspect of their family. Now, I don't blame Stephen's wife for kicking him out, because I know that like people often joke like on a first date, don't be like, do you want kids? But I do think that when a relationship starts getting more serious, you should have that talk, because there is nothing wrong with not wanting kids at all. But if you do want kids and your partner doesn't want kids and neither one of you has enough of a feeling of compromise there, you know, like I think there are some people who don't really want kids, but if their partner really wants them, then they think, oh yeah, sure, I'll have a kid with you, and then they're perfectly happy when they have the kid. I think the more dangerous thing as well is not having kids if you want them, because then that could really be open to resentment down the line that you didn't get to have them. But I do believe Stephen deserved, before he proposed to her or after he proposed to her, you know, he should have told her, because I know I know I want kids. I'm 28, never had a relationship, but I know I want kids somehow. So if I was dating somebody and it was getting serious, I would need to know that they also wanted kids. Otherwise, that part of me that wants kids is never going anywhere, and I would grow to resent the person I loved for stopping me, if that makes sense. So, like, he should have talked to her about it. And I guess he didn't want to tell her about that, but she knows all about Hill House. She knows that Luke's in and out of rehabs and that Nell's not always well. You know, I feel like he should have explained to her that he's worried it's a genetic disease, and that, like, he must have it too, and, you know, he's okay, he doesn't have any, like, big episodes or anything, but he doesn't want to, he feels like he would be passing on the Crane curse to his children. Now, if she loves him, potentially she would say, well, I really do want children, goodbye. But I do feel like if that was me with a partner and they had a real genuine reason, like, I don't know, there are sort of medical conditions that could kill you when you're very young that I carry. If for some reason they were like, I don't want to pass that on, we have that, I would be like, well, should we look into adoption? Could we find, you know, a sperm donor? I would look into, there are so many other ways nowadays that you, especially when you have money like they do, that you can get kids, that you can have kids. You know, you could either prove that you have a stable home for an adoption because you have enough money to make sure you can get everything that is possibly needed. You can pay for a sperm donor because you have all the money in the world like they do. I just think that, like, having kids or not having kids is a big deal, and he was a dick to not tell her, most especially when they started trying and he didn't tell her he'd had a vasectomy. Like, if we're trying and I am miserable and feeling, you know, I mean, I'm very concerned that I might struggle with having children for various reasons one day. If I'm, like, dealing with all of that, like, sense of failure or just sense of, like, the desperation of wanting it so much and it not happening, and then my husband turns around and goes, oh, by the way, I'm not capable currently. Oh, fuck, he's out the door. I mean, maybe we could come to terms with it all, but, like, or I'm out the door, you know, like, one of us is leaving. Like, just no, that is despicable. But I also do believe it wasn't just done out of malice. It was done because Stephen is not only believing that they all have this Crane curse, etc., of mental illness, but he's believing that, you know, he grew up in a family that was perfect, seemed wonderful. He had 2 loving parents. He had 4 younger siblings that were great and that he loved. And then suddenly that whole family dynamic got put in a blender and shaken up, and then his dad didn't even raise them. He feels like he doesn't have the role models to look up to or anything. I don't think it was that's why he couldn't really put into words himself. I think it's part of the messed upness of Hill House. And one of the most emotional parts for me was Hugh's reaction when Stephen explained why he didn't want kids. That feeling of just the ultimate failure, because, you know, this is a man who loves his children more than anything, and, you know, he knows the joy of what it feels like to bring a child into this world with the person you love most, and to watch that child grow up, and he knows the pain of losing that. But to realise that it was yet another casualty of Hill House was putting Stephen in this position, it's just so heartbreaking for a parent to be there as well. Them all being concerned that Luke was going to kill himself is devastating, but, you know, it was like last episode I was saying that I did believe he was going back to Hill House to try and kill it or whatever, but you would think he's either using or suicidal because of how triggering his twin sister's funeral would be. One thing I hope is that at the end of this show they realise that Nell was murdered, that she didn't kill herself, because had she truly just been in a really awful state and killed herself, I wouldn't be saying, oh, terrible bitch, you know. I'd still think that they would be understanding, they would be in a lot of pain, they would feel that understandable anger at her being selfish, even while they logically were like, it's not that simple and I know she wasn't just selfish, you know, it'd be all those messed up feelings they've been having. But Nell, they deserve to know that Nell was healing. They deserve to know that Nell going there alone was the ultimate act of, I'm putting my demons to bed, and it killed her. But she didn't do it out of a sense of, I mean, she was kind of desperate, but she didn't do it out of a sense of like, I've given up. She was fighting to get back to a life that she could have, and they deserve to know that about her. She deserves to have that known. I feel like I probably missed things, but yeah, Theo talking about how when she touched Nell, I wondered what happened. I wondered if it was just like she saw nothing, or if it was like she saw what happened to Nell. I didn't expect that thing of it just being this increasing sense of nothingness, overwhelming everything. So then when the lights go out and she has no senses, essentially, I can't imagine how terrifying that would be. And I think having just had multiple supernatural experiences, Shirley could really see just how real that was, and how when the lights came on and there was a human there, all she wanted to do was just be with a human, touch a human, hug a human, kiss a human, be skin to skin with a human. And I think Shirley owes her husband an apology for not listening to him about, you know, the fact that he did nothing wrong and he pushed someone away. You know, like if someone tries to kiss your partner and they say no, they haven't done anything wrong. They do need to have a talk about the money, but again, I don't necessarily think he was totally in the wrong there. It was just, he really should have said to her at the time, no, look, it's not blood money, you know, this is happening whether you like it or not, but we could have a life because of it, etc. You know, they do need to talk about that, and he was in the wrong in taking the money and not telling her about it for all these years. But she does owe him an apology about the kiss, because that wasn't a thing. But I love the fact that they were able to find that moment of peace, that moment of vulnerability, and then just acceptance of each other because they were family. And I feel like, I don't know, they've almost reached that point of the kite and the string, which was such a romantic notion, but they've almost reached that point of, no matter what, we will be there for each other. You know, we can fight and argue, but we will always love each other and we'll come back to it. So this was a fantastic episode. It really, we had a lot of conversations and moments that I've been waiting for. You know, I've been almost wanting to scream at my screen, like, talk about all the different supernatural experiences you're having. But I feel like the next episode, well, the next 2 episodes are all going to take place in Hill House, and I'm freaking terrified about that. So yeah, I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Albert, for sponsoring this show, and thank you for watching.